Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a very early stream today. This was such a big, it was an interesting story that dropped yesterday, a very interesting article in the Hollywood Reporter. So I decided that I would do it not only as a live stream, but a live stream open to all subscribers to comment, because I think you guys understandably have a lot of questions about this. Thanks, What the Pop. Thanks for waiting up. So we're going to go over these things. Please try to keep your comments to the subject at hand, and I'll occasionally open it up directly to your questions. And then at the end, you can ask, we'll just take some questions. I unfortunately have a hard out at 11:45, so that's what we're going to do. Movie math, I'm afraid, will not go up today. It'll go up tomorrow. Jerome, thank you. Yes, I was quoted in The Guardian. That reporter was very nice, interviewed me, and I have some quotes in there, I know, so I'm so glad that it went up. I will tell you, though, that my Black Adam review, hey, Adrian, thanks for joining. My Black Adam review will go up at 5:30 p.m. today. It's already set. It's uploaded. It's ready to go. It'll go live at 5:30 p.m. for sure. And then I still have lots of Black Adam coverage planned for the end of the week. We're still going to make it a party. Hey, Michelle. We're still going to have a good time with this because it is a big film and there's a lot riding on it. So it's so nice to have everybody here. So there are a couple of things that I want to talk about with this article. All right, so Black Adam comes out on Friday. So pretty clearly, DC and Warner Brothers are getting the hype machine up, right? They're really cranking up the hype machine to make you feel that it's worth your time. Thank you, Anthony. Hey, Areth. It's worth your time to invest your time and money as a ticket into the DC. They want you to feel that there's a future here. So that's the reason, I think, largely for this article. There's no boop today, Vasily, because it's all one story. So the idea is that they want you to feel that there's something here for you to get excited about long term, that it's not a one-off movie. So they really need Black Adam to do well. Now, how many of you have your tickets for Black Adam yet? Because I have to say, I hope that it does well. I don't know let's see if it crashes and burns. I think that's unlikely. But I think, let's see. I think that, Hobbs and Shaw is about a $60 million opening. That's the biggest Dwayne Johnson opening to date. Hey, Cooper. Yeah, the notification ran a little late, I think. It still even hasn't come up on my end. YouTube. So anyway, Hobbs and Shaw. It would be nice if it had a 7 in front of it, like Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi opened at $75.3 million on Labor Day weekend during a pandemic. And then also, if it even could maybe have an 8 in front of it, some people are whispering that maybe it'll have an 8 in front of it. So I see that some of you have your tickets, so that's really great. I do think, I'll just give you a little hint, I think that if you're a comic book fan, I think that there's something for you to enjoy there. I think that comic book fans will enjoy the first half of the movie, and I think that everybody will feel the second half is pretty weak. But I do think that if you're a comic book fan, obviously it's something that you want to see. So I think that that's who's probably going to enjoy it the most. I think that if you want to see Black Adam, it's one of those movies, where you're like, hey, do I want to see this? I don't think it's not going to change anybody's mind. Either you want to go or you don't. Now, of course, they've been talking up a super cameo for weeks now. Everybody was like, don't ruin the ending, Grace. But everybody knows the ending. In fact, it's the primary promotional point of the movie now. And I think that this article knows that because they talk, of course, about Man of Steel 2. Oh, thank you, Bo. It's so nice to always see you. So Hollywood Reporter has a particularly good relationship with Warner Brothers. All trades have relationships with the studios. If a trade so all scoops and stories, and this includes trades, can come from sources. But studios work directly with trades. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. Which is sometimes why trades don't report scoops that they find out about because they don't want to ruin their relationship with the studios. So that's why sometimes you'll have like look at the way the Harrison Ford news broke over the past few days, right? It comes from a source who has absolutely no relationship with the studios, trickles down until the trade gets the okay to say that they're going to do Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. I told you about it on Thursday when every scooper found out about it. Then on Friday, I found out about it like early on the day Thursday. Then a scooper broke it on Thursday night. Then on Friday, everybody, I thought maybe the story would break on Friday, but then of course it didn't on Monday when I was traveling. I was traveling over the weekend. That's why there was no movie math. So it was just like, so that's the way news works. But when a studio wants to hype everybody up, that's why I entitled this live stream, The DC Hype Machine, they'll reach out to a trade. And it's interesting. All the major trades are owned by the same company. The Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, and Variety are all owned by the same company. So they reached out. So sometimes it's a reporter that the studio has a relationship. So they reach out to the Hollywood Reporter and they say, we want to do a really big article that's hyping up DC and the future of DC and get audiences excited about it. And that's what they did. And I have to say, it was very effective. All of you were very, very, it was very effective, but I wonder if, I really feel there's a chance that Warner Brothers might learn, as many of you like to say, that Twitter isn't real life. Because I think that Warner Brothers has really been swayed by Twitter again and again and again. And I think they're making a lot of their decisions, which I think is pretty interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, so I'm going to get to the Henry Cavill stuff. All right, so that's what happened with this article. Now, first I want to point out to your attention that David Zaslav said very clearly during that earnings call about a few months ago at this point. Remember I told you that HBO Max was going to implode and people were like, no, David Zaslav said it wasn't going to implode. And then it imploded. Well, David Zaslav also said, I want to do an MCU 10-year plan for DC. Remember he said that? He said that specifically. He actually referenced the MCU and he actually said 10 years, which of course was the first period of the MCU. And he said he was going to look for his own Kevin Feige. And then an article came out that Dan Lin, and everybody knew that Dan Lin was going to maybe take over. But that fell through. And then suddenly, so did apparently the 10-year plan. That apparently went out the window. Because where is that? This certainly doesn't seem like an MCU 10-year plan, does it? So I think they're trying to push from the gist of this article that came out yesterday that Mike DeLuca himself could maybe be their Feige. Because they're like, ooh, Mike DeLuca knows a lot about comic books. And you're like, really? I don't see any evidence of that based on the comic books movies that he's, greenlit in the past. I mean, I'm not saying he might not be as illiterate in comics as your average movie executive, but I don't think he's a Kevin Feige. You might know your comics, but do you still read the comics today? Are you still getting your comics every week? I mean, that's who you need. Thanks, Amar. That's funny. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Alon. Hey, Eloy. I'm glad. You were traveling. So here's my also guess. Dwayne Johnson has been saying, hey, I don't want to run DC, but I'd sure like to have them help them find the head of DC. And that's why I included that picture there. Now, all the way on the left is Hiram Garcia, which is Danny Garcia's brother. So Dwayne Johnson's production company, $7, is run by Dwayne Johnson, Danny Garcia. I saw an article that just called Danny Garcia The Rock's ex-wife and didn't even acknowledge that she's a producer on Black Adam. All right, so I think that was just so misogynistic and horrible. So it was nuts. So anyway, so Danny Garcia, Beau Flynn, who's the guy all the way on the right. Danny Garcia isn't in that picture for some reason. But anyway, so I feel that Dwayne Johnson might recommend Hiram Garcia or Beau Flynn to run DC for Warner Brothers. I think there's a chance. And, of course, make him the star of it. I told you, the Rockverse. Hey, Letty Lewis. I can't be worse than Thor 4. I think Thor 4 is a good equivalent, although Thor 4 is funny. This is not a very funny movie, not very comedic. But yeah, I think Thor 4 is a pretty good equivalent, to be honest with you. All right, so anyway, I think that maybe would be what Dwayne Johnson is maybe going to angle and say, why don't you take one of these guys? And then I can really control DC. So also in this article, they said, hey, we're thinking of making Man of Steel 2. We're thinking about it. We're thinking about it. And as many, some more seasoned DC fans have pointed out, they've been thinking about making Man of Steel 2 for a very long time. Thank you very much. So they're like, Charles Roven would produce it, and they're looking for writers. Come on, they don't even have a writer. And also, that's already a land grab because Dwayne Johnson would want to be in charge of a Superman movie. I mean, Dwayne Johnson would be like, who do you think brought him back? I'm not handing that over to Charles Roven. Are you nuts? So Charles Roven would potentially produce it. And then also they mentioned that Christopher McQuarrie, maybe they could talk him into coming back because Christopher McQuarrie pitched a Superman movie to the old brass at Warner Brothers, DC, and they shot it down. And I have to tell you, I've tweeted it, and I guess I'll say it again here. Henry Cavill does look amazing for those 5 seconds. I mean, he looks phenomenal. He looks really good. I mean, most of you have seen it. It leaked. But, so I would be interested in a Henry Cavill, Christopher McQuarrie movie. But I do have to say that there is a big cloud that hangs over the Black Adam movie, and I think DC in general is that you're like, are we, you feel like you're treading water. I think that one of the exciting things about the Batman was that you felt we were moving forward. I think that's a little bit of like, this has been going on for so long that I think to some degree you're a little bit like, but let's just move ahead. I think it does help DC that Marvel is suffering a little bit. I think that helps DC a little bit because they're like, oh, hey, now the playing field's kind of getting a little more even. So I said, as I tweeted last night, it's totally reliant on whether or not you see Black Adam. And some of you were really disgusted and shocked and said, why would a Superman movie be reliant on Black Adam's box office? Well, they really want to know. They really, really want to know if you will pay. Oh, that's funny, Cooper. If you will pay to see Henry Cavill. Everybody's talking about, if you only had Henry Cavill back, that would fix DC. That's what we want. People booed at Comic-Con when it looked like Henry Cavill wouldn't come back. And at that point, Henry Cavill wasn't coming back, as they confirmed in this article and as I told you. Anyone who told you that, hey, everybody, hey, Eloy, hey, Pung Mung, anybody who told you that Henry Cavill was coming back to Black Adam and the DCEU before Comic-Con was incorrect because this is something that he's technically Black Adam, that Dwayne Johnson had to fight for because he got booed at Comic-Con. And I think he was right to do that. I think that, although I do feel that, most actors come to regret joining DC. And I do wonder if Dwayne Johnson will join that unfortunate group. Except for Jason Momoa. It's worked out real swell for him. But yeah, so you have to go. I know it's only 5 seconds, but the point is, is Henry Cavill as Superman something that gets people excited? Because if Black Adam doesn't do particularly well, they're going to be like, well, then clearly you guys don't need to see him that badly. Maybe we can get another actor who will get you more excited. So a lot of our conversation is really, we're really going to be able to hit the ground running when Black Adam's box office numbers come out, because then we're really going to know what we're working with. It's, because we never got the official Snyder cut. We never got what happened with Snyder cut. I've heard rumors and I've heard whispers in Hollywood of what the impression is, but those numbers were never released. They weren't even HBO Max wasn't even on Nielsen at the time. So we have no idea how Snyder Cut performed and if it was, if the fandom showed up. You just figured it out, Monger. Whelm says Henry Cavill officially came back for this cameo just last month. Yes, it was confirmed. Henry Cavill, they worked out the deal on Labor Day, and then he came back and they shot it in September, as I told you, and he also shot a little something for The Flash. And that's it. Because of how toxic a lot of the DC fans are from a very specific contingent on Twitter, it's a little bit difficult. Oh, thanks, Kevin Feige. I can tell you, let's see, it has to come. I've heard that it's going to come from a trade in the next day or so, certainly by the time Black Adam hits theaters on Friday. But Henry Cavill is not officially making any more movies. He just has these cameos. And that will be proven, I believe, by a trade in the next couple of days, hopefully. But we'll see. But that's what I'm hearing, but I'm telling you, you have to go and see Black Adam if you want a Man of Steel 2. Now, Dwayne Johnson, he wouldn't produce As I said, he wouldn't produce this A Man of Steel 2. So Dwayne Johnson has no interest in A Man of Steel 2. As I've told you before, because Dwayne Johnson did not bring Henry Cavill back just for you and just to be nice to Henry Cavill. Dwayne Johnson brought back Henry Cavill to help his movie and to be someone for him to fight in a successful movie for him. Dwayne Johnson is interested in Dwayne Johnson's success, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly fine. It would be weird if it was the other way around, that he was just doing something to be nice. Dwayne Johnson wants to be successful. So he wants Henry Cavill to be in his follow-up movie where Black Adam, as I told you, and Dwayne Johnson has now confirmed in interviews, he wants to fight Henry Cavill and the whole Justice League, and he wants the Suicide Squad to get in there, which I told you I think is a pretty darn good movie. That's the movie that Dwayne Johnson wants to make, and he wants Henry Cavill to be the person that he fights. Who's at the center of that movie? Black Adam. That's what Henry Cavill is interested in. That's what Dwayne Johnson is interested in. All right, so now, it's Dwayne Johnson. Now, I like that photo because that's really who's fighting over the power of DC. James Gunn versus Dwayne Johnson. They're both fighting for it. And I think that James Gunn and Peter Safran, who produces James Gunn's Suicide Squad and stuff, and also, by the way, produces, I believe Peter Safran produces The Flash, but I know he produces the Aquaman movies. So I think James Gunn and Peter Safran saw Dwayne Johnson grabbing all the stuff and decided that they were like, we better try and get in here too. And I heard actually a couple of weeks ago that I told you on a stream that James Gunn, is trying to make more content over there. And Warner Brothers is open to the idea. But again, who's greenlighting this? There's no head of DC Films. It's ridiculous. It's just like, again, it's talent. And here's the thing. Hey, Joanne, it's talent fighting for what's best for them. And that's fine. That's what you would expect talent to do. But that's why you need a head of the film division, the head of the franchise, to look out for the franchise. Because everybody's grabbing what they want with no regard for what this is in terms for long-term plans for the franchise. That's what's, I think, to be, that's important. Elon brings up an interesting point. Who would you guys vote for if you had to choose between Dwayne Johnson and James Gunn? And I have to tell you, I don't think either of them are actually the right choice because I think that they don't cast a big enough net. I guess I would give a little bit of an edge to Dwayne Johnson because of his wrestling background, and I think that maybe he kind of understands that, that kind of spectacle a little bit better. And I think wrestling can be a little bit more PG-13 friendly, but most of you seem to agree with me, but I think, Graham, I think that's interesting. You like both. Thanks, Vasily. Thanks, Baudre. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. Juan says, I'm Team Reeves Universe. Yeah, me too. We'll talk about that at the very end, although I'm nervous about that as well. But yeah, I like what Matt Reeves is doing. I think DC should go highbrow. That's where DC does really well. And it's really weird to me that they don't understand that. I talk about that a little bit in my Black Adam review that'll go up later today. That's what I think. Can I make a poll during the live stream? Oh, I can create a poll. Oh, that's so great. Let me do it. Okay. Who should run the DCEU? Dwayne Johnson. James Gunn. Add an option. Matt Reeves. He doesn't really want to do it, but I guess who do you like it? And then somebody else. All right, there you go. Is it up? Did it go up? There it is. All right, I'll give you a few minutes to vote in that. That's fun. Oh, that's fun. I like doing the polls. I didn't even realize I had that toy. So we'll see how it goes. So when you get a chance, vote in that, and we'll see what happens at the end of the stream. So that's why I think they really need to hire somebody to run DC Films, but clearly nobody wants to do it. So I think Mike DeLuca is going to kind of, Jerome, that's very sweet of you. I think that, Mike DeLuca is going to kind of like run it basically like just any student. He's going to run it like Toby Emmerich ran it because he's got other, they're not going to have anybody who's like directly running the DCEU until 2024, probably when NBC Universal buys all this. And hopefully they put somebody in the mix. You need someone to run every franchise. So you guys are voting right now. How's it going? Matt Reeves is winning, but not by a ton. Thank you, Daniel. That's very sweet of you. Hey, Mr. White. So yeah, so you guys, let's see here. So I'll end the poll closer to the end of the stream, and we'll discuss the results. All right, so yeah, so James Gunn, of course, has Peacemaker season 2, and I'm very curious to see how that does now that it'll be showing up on HBO Max. On Nielsen ratings. Tommy Wiseau, that's funny, Dennis. I think that we'll see how Peacemaker does. There were a lot of qualifiers to how it was performing. They were like best HBO Max original. We know those numbers are low. Jesse says, Grace, from a representation standpoint, is there a woman in Hollywood you feel could potentially run DC? It's tough because you have to find a woman who likes comics and is a high-powered executive. So that's going to be very difficult. But I'm never say never. It would be wonderful if there was. There are some female editors. Karen Berger ran Vertigo Comics and did one of the best jobs ever in the history of running a comic book print label. Graham says, can they run DCEU like jury duty? A new producer gets summoned every 6 months. No, because it's impossible then to do long-term plans, unfortunately. I think that's very, very difficult. So James Gunn has Peacemaker 2 coming out, but then they'd like to do other stuff. They'd like to do a couple of movies, apparently. Maybe some others. I heard he was going to do a lot of series, but apparently he's like, I want to try and get some movies. I think it's interesting that James Gunn seems to have officially left Marvel, because why is he pitching so hard for DC? You would think he would get it maybe. There was a time when he was supposed to kind of like be the second to Kevin Feige. Remember that? And he was recommending people like Peyton Reed and stuff to direct. So I think they probably just wanted him to finish his trilogy for, thanks Azbot. They just wanted him to finish his trilogy for Guardians of the Galaxy. And it seems like he is out at Marvel now. But, Meg, I think the Gunn's brand, does it fit DC better? I think that if it was PG-13 maybe. But again, it's hard to tell because Suicide Squad came out during a pandemic and it was on HBO Max simultaneously. So we really still don't have a good litmus test. We still don't have a good litmus test as to, what the fandom thinks of that. Well, that's very nice of you. All right, so then let's talk about Matt Reeves, okay? So we're doing pretty good on time here, too, for me to be able to take a lot of questions. All right, so Matt Reeves, he's like, don't forget about me, everybody, I'm still here, too. Now, I was pretty sad that in the article, they called the Batman's gross respectable. I was like, ouch, that's like calling something cute. Hey, thanks, Bri. That's like calling something cute. That's a nice respectable box office there. And then Matt Reeves is like, I was having such a nice day. So yeah, but the Batman only did open at around did gross in like the 700 range. Yeah, that's not incredible. It's not amazing. It's not exactly what you want, but he didn't have the flashiest villains. So, Batman has always gotten a really big assist from his villains. And so Matt Reeves was like, I'm going to go for villains that nobody's really heard of. And that kind of worked. I thought it was a great movie. I thought, I thought it was brilliant. As you know, I thought The Batman was one of the best comic book movies ever made. And it was the closest I've come to a comic book experience since the first Avengers movie, where I was like, wow, this is just like reading the comics. Mika, it has Joker for like a second. That's not really enough. And people were pretty divided on that version of the Joker. But Matt Reeves is still, working really hard to try and carve out his own corner of what? It's like, what are these, again, I don't understand why they have different, it's almost like Matt Reeves is creating an Elseworlds. Which, by the way, DC Elseworlds comics were amazing. So, but I'm a little nervous about it. I don't know, again, you're dividing your fandom. You haven't, with Marvel, people like what's going on or they don't. But I think it would be really difficult to have DC. I do too, Dennis. I hate Professor Pig. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I think that it would be very difficult to have DC's fandom divided. To have people go, which do you prefer? And be like, I support the DCEU. I prefer what Johnson or Gunn or Gunn are doing. I like Matt Reeves' work better. And you're like, no, you should just be getting behind DC. That's it. So I think, the division that DC creates, I think, is really a problem. So he's got his Penguin show coming up. I actually saw Colin Farrell the other day heading into Lincoln Square, AMC Lincoln Square. Kyle B., I would love for Matt Reeves to do a Wonder Woman and Superman. I'd love to see his take on those characters. But I saw Colin Farrell going in for his movie that's coming out with Brendan Gleeson. He was going there for a Q&A, and so I saw him walking into the theater. He was a real sweetheart to the people who were waiting there. It was a lot of autograph hounds, but he was really nice. But so I'm excited about the Penguin show. It is casting right now. Hey, Victor Martinez. Sofia Falcone is going to be on it, which I'm pretty freaking excited about. But it's really going to be exploring more of like the families. It's going to be very much again like Long Halloween and that stuff. But like without Batman really. So I'll be curious to see how that works. But I'm interested in that. But yeah, so that show's getting ready to go. I'm excited about that. I don't know what's happened to the Arkham Asylum show. Instead, they've decided to just do a bunch. And I thought, Mika, I thought a Zoe Kravitz Catwoman show in Bloodhaven was a great idea. I thought that would have been excellent. But, no. T.J. Williams knows Sophia Falcone from the Gotham show. I'm thinking of the big hulking of a woman from the comic. That would get me excited. I hope that they do that. I would really love for that to be that version of Sophia Falcone. Victor says, I'm off to neuroscience class right now. Have fun in the stream. Oh, bye, that's a great class. That's an interesting class to take. All right, so anyway, yeah, I hope we get Robin. Child Robin. Remember we all made that joke when he saw that poor child? He's like, hey, you want a job? Thanks, Nacho. I would rather have Bat family movies instead of the villains. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about the movie. You're right, it is like what Sony is doing. I was like, who's Sonny Corleone? But no, you mean Sony. That's a typo. But yeah, so anyway, so apparently instead of doing the Arkham show, which I thought was a great idea, that follows the Marvel formula, where you introduce villains in their own little space in an Arkham show, and then they graduate maybe to the movies. And you do it really well. That would be exciting. But apparently that's maybe not happening. Maybe they were like, this is too many Harley Quinns. Jewel, I'm so sad you're sick. I'm glad we're keeping you company. So anyway, Matt Reeves is developing projects, movies and or shows based on Scarecrow. I'd love to see his version of the Scarecrow, although I thought his Riddler was very Scarecrow-y. Clayface, that could be very interesting, but how do you do that without the superpower element? To me, Clayface is a lot like Poison Ivy, in that there's a supernatural element to the abilities, and that's hard to do when you're going for a realistic take on the character. Bo says, I would get an Avengers-level movie for the old Justice League members and then reset the DCEU. I would make Dwayne Johnson's movie, to be honest with you. I'm real tempted to make that Brawler movie. I'll be like, woo, Brawler. But again, it feels like they're chasing Secret Wars. Oh, Secret Wars. Everybody in the world's going to be in Secret Wars. It's going to be incredible. All right, I got some tea for you about Red Hulk that I'm going to do tomorrow. So anyway, Professor Pig. He also wants to do Professor Pig. I really don't like Professor Pig, but I'm not a huge horror fan. For a lot of people, I saw Halloween Ends, and I was like, Halloween Ends was pretty good. But people who are like hardcore Halloween fans, I am not. Okay, it's interesting. Condiment King, Holland. So anyway, I'm glad the early stream allows you to join from India. But maybe if you like if you like slashers and you like that kind of gruesome stuff, maybe then you like Professor Pig. I do not like Professor Pig. I think Professor Pig goes too far, and it's an element that I just don't want in my Batman movies. But that's okay. Sonny, I'm so glad. Thank you. That's so great. It's so great. I'm so glad we had our first interaction like this. So we'll see. But I do agree that it just kind of sounds like like what Sony's doing. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to do these villains and then have like some kind of like low-rung member of the Bat family run through? I wouldn't want this to be like Birds of Prey either. It sounds a lot like the Birds of Prey movie, right? Where they had the Harley Quinn was front and center and the Birds of Prey were the background dancers and not even in the appropriate costumes. That is very worrying to me. Again, if they had someone in charge who was looking out for the franchise instead of the talent and read the comics regularly today, they would know that this was a bad idea. Hey, Michelle, Pattinson Superman and Wonder Woman should be different from the DCEU. Calvin Ellis and Yara Flora. That's an interesting idea, but then what's going on here? Who's Batman? You got 3 Batman right now. You got Ben Affleck, who I hear is still stuck in the multiverse at the end of The Flash. Michael Keaton, who's coming over as Bruce Wayne, basically Nick Fury. And then you still got Robert Pattinson. Talk about division. Why can't, pick a Batman and then run with it? That's a Batman that everybody should get behind. I mean, maybe they could get away with older Keaton. Maybe. But then how would Batman be standing next to him? That would be so weird. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. Even though I like Michael Keaton. I am excited to see Michael Keaton again. Hey, H-Tiz, my pleasure. Yeah, Team Robert Pattinson all the way. And then apparently, Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams are still making that Superman movie. I heard they weren't going to make that movie. But I think that the Warner Brothers doesn't want to, I guess it would look real bad after Batgirl to then cancel that movie as well. To be honest, that shouldn't be its own movie. It should be a Superman movie. That's the thing. I gotta tell you, that's one of the overarching things that you feel when you're watching the Black Adam. You're like, this isn't the movie you should clearly be making. Like, you're like, it's not a bullseye. It's like bullseye adjacent, but so you can kind of see the bullseye, and you're like, but why am I watching this movie when you clearly should have made that movie? And I feel that way about a lot of this stuff. I'm like, just get a Superman that everybody likes and that the studio is happy with, and start telling these stories. Like, Black Adam should be in a Superman movie, not the other way around. Like, what the hell is that? Erwin, I'm not a big podcast person, but I was really happy for Winston Duke to star in that. I thought that was lovely. All right, so that's what's really kind of going on with DC right now. It's not as exciting as that article makes it seem, but that article was an advertisement. So of course, I mean, they should have put that thing at the bottom. You know when you're reading a magazine? Well, nobody really reads magazines anymore, but back in the day, you would read a magazine and you'd be flipping through it, and all of a sudden you'd be like, wow, the layout kind of changed a little bit. And then you'd look at the bottom and it would say, this is an advertisement. And you'd be like, oh, but they made it look like you were still reading the magazine. That's like what that was. I don't know. I mean, it's feel bad about Hamada. I think Hamada made some really big mistakes that he just couldn't recover from, and then he started to take it personally. It's hard not to take it personally when you get attacked constantly, so I mean, that's understandable. I mean, Walter Hamada is only human. But he just, unfortunately didn't have the backbone to just get in there and take care of everything. Bailey, sometimes the chats are for subscribers. So if you're a subscriber, you can chat. Hey, music plugins. All right, so now you can ask me questions, but today we're only going to do questions about DC. You can only ask me DC questions, and you can ask me about the comics if you want. And I have about 7 minutes. Oh, Josh, I'm so glad you like being able to chat. That makes me very happy. Vasily says, did you keep up to date with... Oh, that's not a DC question. Although I did. I was like, it was pretty juicy too. Oh, I hope Lisa Rinna gets fired. Let's see here. Matt says, I'm going to see Black Adam on Friday. I want to take my son, but I'm curious, is it appropriate for a 4-year-old? I have to tell you, I would see the movie first if you have a young child. It has an inordinate amount of kills. And there's a question, I think that where they end on the morality scale is, maybe questionable for a small child. Mika says, Patty's Wonder Woman 3 script is coming soon. Thoughts? As I said before the other day, I think Patty Jenkins can certainly write a Wonder Woman 3 script. That doesn't mean anyone's going to make it. But she's kind of like, she's like these other people. Speaking of a woman in the mix, Patty Jenkins is like, hey, don't forget about me. I have a corner of the DCEU too. And you're like, do you? I think she might have given it up. KK says, I'm so glad I finally was able to make a live. Me too, Kay. I always like seeing you. Been so busy, but miss you. I miss you too. It's such a nice thing to write, Kay. It's so selfless. Nacho says, I think The Rock should run DC. He's going to put The Rock first rather than the characters and the brand first. I agree, and I don't blame him. Of course he's interested in The Rock. But that's why he can't, you can't have talent. He's Margot Robbie all over again, in my opinion. And I don't have a problem with Margot Robbie. I understand why Margot Robbie made the choices that she did, but it was wrong for the brand. It will be okay. That's funny. What are your thoughts about Issa Rae's comments about Ezra Miller? If you aren't familiar, Issa Rae said that Ezra Miller being excused for his behavior is kind of similar to what goes on in Hollywood. It was like a microcosm of Hollywood allowing abuse because they're trying to protect their brand and their projects. Because, The Flash tested really well, so suddenly what Ezra Miller did wasn't so bad. Although I think Tiffany Haddish is kind of like the same situation to a degree. You could argue even worse. So we'll see what Disney does there. Disney could do the same thing, so it would be kind of the same situation. But I do think Issa Rae was to some degree correct. But I mean, also everybody can see that. I don't know I really want to see Issa Rae succeed. Hopefully she's very well received in the Barbie movie. I wouldn't go calling out studio execs though. I hope Issa Rae doesn't want to work at Warner Brothers. Sebastian Bermuda says, hi, I'm seeing Black Adam tomorrow in Chile in 4DX. That's awesome. I hope you have a great time. My spoiler review will drop on Thursday. And since so many of you are seeing it so soon, maybe I'll drop it a little earlier than I was planning to. I think Black Adam is a great movie for 4DX. I went to a Cinemark. I was in Pittsburgh over the weekend, and I went to a Cinemark. And I have to tell you, I had a lovely time. It was a great time. That Cinemark was a quality theater. Devin Henderson says, Grace, my Chicago IMAX only has 15 tickets sold. Where did that go? For Black Adam opening Friday at 7. I don't want to say that it's going to bomb. I think we'll see. Let's just see. I honestly have no idea how the movie is going to perform. We will find out at the latest. We'll know its Thursday night numbers on Friday morning, but by Saturday afternoon, we'll have an idea of how it's doing. Thanks, Robo Striker. That's so nice of you. Where did your comment go? The thing. Okay. Is it ever too early to announce Man of Steel? They aren't making Man of Steel 2. They are just thinking of making Man of Steel 2. So I feel bad that they get you guys excited with empty promises. Once they hire a writer, I mean, the fact they even haven't even hired a writer is like really just shows you that it's a carrot to get you to go see Black Adam. Rob McDowell says, hi, Grace, I just barely made the stream, but I'm so glad to catch you live on my birthday. Happy birthday, Rob! I'm so happy. That makes me feel so nice. Kay Cordell, movie math will now have to be tomorrow. I apologize. I got in later on my flight last night than I had anticipated. Millie Jo says, what have you been reading? I am enjoying Nightwing. Have I bought my comics for this week? I don't think I did. I do read Nightwing. I read most of the Batman titles. I've bought all the Poison Ivy comics, but I stopped reading them. But I paid for them. That's kind of what I'm reading right now. I think comics are in a really sorry state, which makes me sad. Elon, I'm glad you have your tickets. Graham says, what DC storyline that hasn't been adapted yet would you like to see on screen? Oh, that's interesting. I think I would really love to see a really good Superman movie, like Superman for all seasons. And I got to tell you, as much as I like Henry Cavill in the role, I think Henry Cavill was born to play evil Superman. But since we already have Homelander, I don't really know if you can do that anymore. And I don't think that Henry Cavill comes across as nice Superman. And I think that Christopher Reeves' the interview that recently resurfaced where he talked about that the core of Superman was that he was kind to everyone, that he was a friend to everyone, that's really the quality that they should be going for. That's just how I feel about it. Let's see. I have some more comments, super comments here. Make sure I don't miss any of them. Bo says, watching Black Adam on Wednesday with my friends and Saturday with my family. That's awesome. That's how to do it. I don't know if you can sit through that movie twice, to be honest with you, so I hope that you like it. I don't think I would watch that again. I mean, like, I'm glad I saw it, to be honest with you, but I wouldn't watch it again. Cooper says, thoughts on Damian finally donning the bat costume. Did he? I haven't read. I don't like what they're doing with Damian right now. I don't like this Mother Soul stuff, but I'm still reading it. I'm like, just let Damian be Damian. Like, what is all this supernatural crap? But I like his new costume, and I like them embracing his Middle Eastern background. I think that's really important. Chad says, Grace, I feel like James Gunn knows he's too small for Marvel at this point, especially now that they're spotlighting the company's diverse directors. No, I think that it's the controversy why he's out over there. But I think that he recovered from that as best that he could. I think that, unlike some celebrities, I think he really listened to his, publicity people and damage control and had good instincts himself. He recovered from that as best that you can, which is impressive. A lot of other people wouldn't have been able to recover from that. Let's see here. Where is the other comment that went away? Why is it chat do this to me? Why, chat? Why? Why, chat? Why must I scroll looking for this? Zay says, that's a Little Mermaid question. I can't answer that. Whelm says, Grace, all this DC talk is making me think of a little show called Young Justice. I haven't watched it. I feel it's pointless. I'm sorry. I know you like it so much, but I can't get myself to do it. My pleasure, Elon. I feel like I missed a comment. Oh, hey, Xtina. I'm sad today. Oh, I'm sorry about your iPhone. I'm glad we cheered you up. I'll allow it since it was sad, but that's not DC related. Oh, let's see here. Chad. CJ, your love of Young Justice makes me feel nice. Zahid says, is Black Adam Dark Thor 4? Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. It has some really strong political statements, too. You watch my review. My review goes up at 5:30. I can't pre-review it. I'll get in trouble. There's a good question. Where'd that go? Chico says, Grace, when will we ever see Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn's relationship on live action? You know, the more you support it in animation, the more likely you are to see it in live action. There is that wonderful Valentine's Day special coming up with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. They have a season 4. If you keep supporting the animated show, you will get this in live action, and that will make me very happy. I just think that their relationship is so beautiful because, you know, a lot of women do kind of, you know, turn to other women after abusive relationships with men. You see it a lot. And so I think that it's actually quite sophisticated to cover that with you know, Harley going to Poison Ivy after let's end the poll. Yeah, after what happened with Joker. All right, I'm ending the poll. How can I can, oh, there it is, the poll. There we are. Who should run the DCEU? Somebody else wins with Matt Reeves a close second. See, look how low James Gunn is. I'm telling you, I think Twitter is not real life. I think Twitter influences real life, which is why I place such an importance on it. Some of you might be like, Grace, if you've come to the realization that Twitter isn't real life, why do you still talk about it so much? And I would say, Hunter, you sent a super chat? Let me look and find it. And I would say because it's so influential, but it's not real life. So I think people need to remember that. Music Plugin says, I would rather have Black Adam versus Shazam and Superman. Yeah, I talk about that in my review. You'll see that Shazam is nowhere to be seen. They don't even talk about him. It's so embarrassing. Let's see here. Manav says, do you think Jenkins should pass over Wonder Woman to someone else? Yeah, I do. And I don't even know what I feel about Gal Gadot, because some of her acting was so bad. They need a director who will say, we need to keep doing this take, Gal, until you do it correctly. Well, there's Hunter. What do you think can fix the comic book industry? I think more professionalism, to be honest with you. I think that this hiring friends has just gotten ridiculous. I think people who are working comic books should be like any other creative endeavor, like movies and TV, where you have an agent and you have to pitch professionally, and that's how it should work. Although they'd have to start paying more then, and maybe that's why they don't want to do it. Paul Brunel says, it's really interesting to see a time where studio execs are in the spotlight more than before. It really gives people a look behind the curtain. Yeah, and it's quite the shocker for the executives. They're like, am I trending? Am I a studio executive trending in a negative fashion? I think you scared the crap out of Dan Lin. He was like, uh-oh, I don't want this to be my life. Joy says, I think advertising it's late. I think advertising comic books at the end of comic book movies would help. But then the comic books would have to be better. But I do think that would be great. I also think having comic books more easy to purchase. I don't know why Comixology doesn't, or now Amazon, why this isn't promoted more. You could have comic books delivered to you right now in the palm of your hand. It is never talked about enough. I buy my comic books, just sitting around. I'll go to my phone and I go, oh yeah, I should really pick up my comics for the week. You can order them in advance whenever it occurs to you. You can order them weeks in advance now, thanks to Amazon. And it's ridiculous. So anyway, I feel bad about it. I feel bad about it. Is there a cutscenes? When does Gotham Knights come out? Yeah, Mika. Who knows what the heck that Static movie is? Bye, Danny. Devin, I do read comic books on my iPad. Hey, Sarah. Thanks for joining. Welcome. That's a nice photo. It's out now? Gotham Knights comes out Friday? Which one is it? This Friday? Maybe. I don't know. Let me see what's going on. Black Panther's coming up fast. I'm excited! Black Panther, it's going to be so good. Black Panther, by the way, is the only movie I know where everybody is like, yeah, I'm going. I've been asking people that I know who are not huge comic book fans, and they're like, yeah, I got my Black Panther tickets. They're like not even sure they're going to go, but they're like, they want the option to go opening weekend. I have mine. My dad really wants to go. He loved the first Black Panther so much. He thought it was such a good movie. And I wanted him to be able to go opening weekend. So I couldn't get IMAX seats, which I was kind of bummed about, but we're going to go. So we're going to have a good time. I'm excited. All right, everybody. I don't think Henry Cavill is still joining. Well, let's see. Let's see if he actually becomes Superman. I think he should have held out for the MCU, quite frankly. But Henry Cavill's going to Henry Cavill. All right, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining me for today's live stream. And the next video that will go up will be my Black Adam non-spoiler review. There are no spoilers in it. And that goes up at 5:30 p.m. today. It's actually uploaded and ready to go on scheduled release, so it will definitely be up. Okay, one last thing. Writer Boy says, DCEU should do something weird, new, and different. The multiverse opens up and enters all versions of Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer, Halle Berry, and Anne Hathaway, all fighting Scarecrow. That's funny, Writer Boy. You know, I mean, I guess they could, that would be maybe, I don't know. That sounds like Secret Wars to me, quite frankly. But yeah. But I like Dwayne Johnson's idea. I like Dwayne Johnson's Justice League Suicide Squad brawl. But it is a Secret Wars blatant copy. Like, that's the thing. Dwayne Johnson was like, we don't copy Marvel. Thank you very much. We set our own tone. And then they copied Marvel. All right, everybody, have a great day. I mean, although Marvel's done everything, so how can you not copy them? All right, bye, everybody. I'll see you soon. There will be a stream tomorrow. Okay, bye. Toodles. Toodles.